This is our second video in this series to scrape and analyze simple Twitter data. In the previous video, I showed you how to set up an API and where to get the codes from. In this one, I'll show you how to use those codes and scrape a little bit of Twitter data. So the first thing that we're going to need is the library that we use to scrape the Twitter data is called Twitter with a capital R at the end. So if you do not have this library installed, you're going to have to install it with install.packages Twitter R, and that will install it onto your machine, and then you will have to load that library into your R session using the library command. So I already have it loaded, so I just run the library command and I don't get any output here. Now, if you remember those codes that we generated last time creating the API, this is where those codes come in handy. I've copied all those codes over here and I assign them to variables corresponding to what those actual codes are. So I have the consumer key, the consumer secret, the access token, and the access secret. And I hold those as variables. And this is the command that connects my R session to Twitter. So it's called setup Twitter OAuth. And by running this, you should get an output that says using direct authentication. On occasion, you might get something that asks you if you want to use direct authentication, and you say yes. So I move down here. And now that I've set up that connection, I can actually scrape the Twitter data. There's two different ways I can scrape Twitter data. I can scrape it by the username, or I can scrape it by a keyword. Let me first show you how to scrape it by a username. So Miss Pam Bleckinger uses Director Track as her Twitter handle. So I can set that up as my username. And this user timeline command, this function, will allow me to look at up to 3,200 most recent tweets by Miss Bleckinger. So I run this. That goes to Twitter. It finds her username and downloads the most 50 recent tweets. We're not going to do 3,200 because that's too many tweets for this instance. Now, this actually downloads it as a complicated list that isn't very useful for our purposes. DT is a list, and you could take a look at that list, and there is some handy information in there. But for right now, we're actually going to change it with this handy command into a data frame, which gives us a data frame containing these columns. So text is the actual tweet, whether or not it was favorited, the number of times it was favorited, the time it was created, whether it's truncated. You can take a look through all of these, whether there's a latitude and longitude of the location it was tweeted. So we can just take a look at the first tweet in Miss Bleckinger's feed. We notice that she tweeted at 1938 last time, local 117, and this is her tweet. Now, that's a really good way if you want to specify the people that you want to see their tweets, but sometimes you just want to look up a keyword. So I'm a big board gamer, and Star Realms is one of my favorite games, so I'm just going to take a look at the top 25 tweets that mention one of my favorite board games. So I set that to keyword, and instead of user timeline here, we use search Twitter. Search Twitter is going to give me the top 25 tweets. The structure of the data that comes back is very similar, so I also want to change that into a data frame, and I could take a look at the very first tweet when it was created. Now the difference here is you're going to have a whole bunch of different users. You're not just scraping one user's tweets. In the next video, I'll show you some of the things that you can do with this data. You can also some of the stuff you can do with the lists as opposed to the data frames that we create from the lists. Thank you.